Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are so excited to have our next guest here who has great energy herself, Allison Cowan, joining us here today. She's the founder of her own company, Purposeful Pathways Life Coaching. That's the title of it. And also, well, her website, mine as well, purposefulpathwayslifecoaching.com. That's how you can reach her. She's located in Kirtland, Ohio, but she can work with you anywhere around the U.S., around the world, and that's what she does. And we're so excited to meet her here today. Welcome. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm so excited to meet you and have a new experience. And, obviously your energy is so upbeat that I'm excited to get started.
Well, I can tell by your voice. Thank you. And you're exciting too. Look, anything is possible. We're live here on the Zoomcast as well as the podcast. For those of you that may not be watching, I see the beautiful words above her head. Anything is impossible. Clearly an inspirational person. She's here to work with individuals and couples. Let me have her introduce herself. Please say hello and tell us a little bit about what you do, Allison.
So I am a life coach. I am certified in so I'm a professional certified life coach through the International Coaching Federation, holding at least 3 certificates through the International Coaching Federation. One is a certified professional coach. The other is a neuro-linguistic programming coach. And the other is a positive psychology coach. I do hold other non-International Coaching Federation certificates. And I love what I do.
Clearly.
I can't wait to wake up every morning and get started and offer value
to people's lives. And would you mind? I think it's important for us to get to know you further. I know I read as a young girl, you really said you were inspired to become a career professional, right? Could you talk a little bit about what happened here and how you got here? Give us a little bit of your journey, if you don't mind, because we all have a story. We all have a journey that makes us unique. Hence, I think it's going to be important for our listeners to get to know you that way as well.
Sure. When I was I don't know how far back to go.
I know, right? It's like, how much time do we have? Whatever tell us just a little bit of whatever you think is important, sweetheart.
So at first, my career aspirations, I have a master's degree in music performance, and I have a master's degree in education. And education is what really started moving me into these helping professions. And there were many that were prior to that. And due to due to circumstances with my teaching situation, I ended up resigning. And best decision I ever made, because now I get to do
what you really love, your true passion, right? That happens. A lot of us are brought into career paths. You don't know what you want to do. You do, and we're not happy. And the moment you find the happiness, which is what you do with your clients, it's just like the light goes off and it's like, wow. Yep.
And it was like everything that I've done prior has led to this moment. It has led me to this career and life path and journey.
Well, we are excited to have you here to talk about the work that you're doing. And I know you want to talk a little bit about some of the different aspects of your work. Relationship coaching being, right, one of the biggest. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think that with relationship coaching, we live, there's relationships. Every part of our lives whether it's a relationship with yourself, a relationship with friends,
Mm-hmm.
family, partners, marriages, coworkers, and the list goes on. And how do we manage those?
Yeah.
Things come up, and communication, I believe, is one of the major steps in forging positive relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just so many aspects. And through positive psychology, I did learn that we are not meant to be alone. We are meant to have at least 10 positive interactions a day with other people. People need people,
Mm-hmm.
and people need that. And COVID happened.
Ah,
Um,
and that changed so many people's lives in horrible ways, but now in positive ways, right? At first it was the doom all. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of lives. People had job loss, has that anxiety, that stress. But then now looking back, now a lot of us have learned, not everyone, and they still need some help with this, which is where you come in, but rebuilding themselves. What is their true calling? What is their other talents? And looking back, it just felt good to know we're not alone. And that anxiety and stress, we all had it. So, but it has helped change so many people's lives.
yes. And I have found, oddly enough, that I really have come to value Zoom and have made incredible friendships through Zoom. You see each other, and you feel like you're sitting in the same room with someone. And so, yes, in person is even more fun, but there are other possibilities, and Zoom is one of them. So you don't have to be alone. You can have those connections.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, specifically now during the holidays, a lot of us, you're around your family, your friends, your loved ones, or some that don't have it. So relationships and family, this is the time of year where really people could use a lot of help and support and guidance. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. And that was one of the things I was hoping to talk about today, was
Perfect.
just in general, holiday stress,
Mm-hmm.
managing holiday stress. And it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's, it can become an issue with expectations, spending money.
Yeah.
How much time can a person tolerate with other people?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel guilty saying no if
Yeah.
you don't want to go to a holiday party? And then, if you're in a relationship, what if there are two different expectations?
Mm-hmm.
And there are positive sides, because I have read that family rituals can really be helpful
Mm-hmm.
in building.
Mm-hmm.
But then over time, children grow, families change, and so do the rituals.
Yeah.
And there's stress with trying to hang on to the rituals rather than creating new ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, there's a lot.
Well, let me ask, you as a relationship coach, again, if you're just tuning in, we need to remind everyone who we're talking to the name of the company again, Purposeful Pathways Lifecoaching.com. Allison Cowan here joining us, talking about all the work that she can do to help you, again, with her relationship coaching. I know you say first, I love, right? You've mentioned you've experienced your own hardships with your husband, and you really can help people put that effort into themselves and talk about commitment and talk about, getting themselves back on track. And if you don't mind sharing, there's this whole, I guess, myth you talked about, right? That people have about relationships. Do you want to share that with us?
A myth about relationships
Yes.
that it's just going to be bliss. I think the myth is that we enter relationships thinking that, especially in the beginning, there's that, oh my gosh thing. And then over time, some of that goes away. And learning how to communicate and compromise are so important, because the myth is that partners are going to just agree with each other. And sometimes it happens, but not always. Did that answer your question?
Compromise. Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure what your myth was. It was in your notes. So I'm like, what is the myth? But I believe that too. Everyone thinks it's going to be rosy and grandiose, but it takes work. It takes commitment. It takes techniques that, not every relationship is capable of handling. And by the way, with COVID, we noticed there was an increase with divorce rates, right? Unfortunately, also domestic abuse and violence. People who have been together were not used to being together, and they either had to learn to change, grow together, or they grew apart. And is there any advice? I mean, would you help us with relationships and guidance? So some maybe simple tips that we can start doing every day to better those in ourselves in a relationship.
Okay, so I'd like to clarify a little bit more, if I could.
Please.
Because the question is a little bit on the broad side, so
Yes.
I'd like to narrow it down to, okay, so you brought up COVID, and people have either grown together or grown apart.
Mm-hmm.
And you're asking for some tips that might help people stay together.
Yeah, or just start working on being more together, being kinder, being, if you both want to be in a relationship, there's work that has to be put into it. So, I'm hoping some of our listeners could learn, today some little things that we could start doing on a daily basis to help ourselves and our partner and our relationship.
And I like you mentioned the work. It takes effort, and you have to commit to the effort. And that is the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are so many areas to look at. Expectations and values.
Yeah.
Do you share the same values?
True.
How, when a conflict comes up, how are you going to choose to resolve that conflict? And when resolving a conflict, there needs to be a win-win on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some techniques. One that I particularly like when entering into conflict is the acronym is REPS,
Okay.
REPS, and hopefully I can pull it right off the top of my head. So R is relax.
Okay.
Take some deep breaths so that you are calm. E is to explore the conflict at hand and, be able to hear what the other person is saying. The first P is probe. So if a conflict is about, it could be about anything, not getting the dishes done. I mean, it could be something really silly. It can be something.
Usually it is, yes.
And so you probe deeper and ask more open-ended questions. So when the dishes aren't done, tell me more about what's happened, how that makes you feel. Tell me more about, so just like these open-ended questions where you keep probing deeper and deeper so that you have more understanding of where the other person is coming from. The second P is playback. And that is when a person would just recap everything that was talked about and checking in to see that you really understood. So am I understanding that correctly, that you're feeling this way, you're thinking this way, so that you are really clear. And then the S is the solution. And that's where together, people come up with, the couple comes up with a solution where both people win.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of my favorite tools because often in conflict, we stop hearing each other. We stop listening
Mm-hmm.
to each other. And then this allows for somebody to take that high road and be the listener.
Yeah.
Probe and want to understand more deeply what is going on with the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And when they feel heard, people want to feel heard. They need to feel heard.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the solution, it's so much easier.
Yeah. Well, also, Just want to remind everyone your contact information as we continue our discussion with our life coach here, Allison Cowan. I know we've mentioned the website again, purposefulpathwayslifecoaching.com. Is there a phone number or email address, social media page you want to share as well?
Sure. My phone number is 216-339-9959. My email address, and this might be for just another week or so because I'm switching platforms with my website. So my email address is Allison Cowan, ALLISONCOWAN at purposefulpathwayslifecoaching.com.
Perfect. And also, I noticed that you offer a free ebook if you go to the website there. And also, you offer a complimentary discovery call.
Yes, a 1-hour complimentary discovery call. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. We
So-
still have time in the show. What else did you want to add for today? I mean, there's a lot to your notes, so I just want to make sure you're getting through whatever is important to you about the work you do, because we'll have more time to talk, but I just want to make sure we're covering everything for today.
Yeah, no, go ahead and ask, what is coming up for you that you would like to hear more about?
Well, I mean, I just know you're talking to someone who's 44, has never been married. I have a 5 and 7-year-old. I had kids by myself. So I struggle with relationships myself. And one thing in particular, which I notice clearly, is childhood trauma. My parents never got along, and I feel healed from that. I've spoken to someone my whole life, and that's okay because they didn't get along. I never trusted men. I never trusted relationships. And as an adult, I just became so independent to trust myself and do everything myself. But, now I'm in a relationship and things are changing where I'm finally for once opening up in my life and learning how to compromise, learning to share, learning how to partnership. It was always, teamwork makes the dream work. I believe in that, but I've always been a one-man band. But one thing in particular for people out there, do you find a lot of people have trouble in their relationships because of what happened when they were children? Is childhood trauma something, that's a big part of this and you need to work on with your clients?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So sometimes coaching is more about taking somebody where they are. It's about moving people forward. However, there are times when touching on the past gives some insight. And a lot of that boils down to something called attachment theory.
Okay.
And the way that children are raised form their attachment style.
Mm-hmm.
And we carry that into adulthood.
Yep.
However, the good news is it does not have to stay that way.
No.
It can change and you can grow, and it's there's all of the possibilities of moving forward and learning a new attachment style.
Yep. Good to know. All right.
I do believe people can change.
Yeah.
There are people who don't think others can change. If somebody wants to change and they're committed, they will change and grow and transform.
Mm-hmm. And there's hope at that light at the end of the tunnel that it's possible, right?
Yes.
That's super important. Yeah.
And I do offer programs, people who are deciding to get into a committed, it's like, okay, I want to be sure that the person I am choosing to commit to, that we are going, there's not going to be some strange glitch along the way. And it covers communication, finances, family, including children, And there's like 12 other things that, so that there's a chance to really explore
Yeah.
where the other person is coming from. And it's about 12 weeks because there's a lot to get through. But I call it committing with confidence. And I guess why I believe in it so much is that at the end, there's more of a sense of security that, yes, we're going to make it through all of these little things. How will we manage the conflict, and when you have differences of opinion, and all of these things are covered. And I think that it's kinder to find out prior to making a commitment if
Mm-hmm.
you find out it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Divorce is expensive. Divorce is traumatic. And, we go through this, and this would be like together privately. Sometimes this can be in a group setting. Sometimes it can be just two individuals together. And how to end the relationship with kindness, and not holding on to hostility or anger.
Yeah. Well, we are almost out of time. And this is the time of the show where we do have to remind everyone they can reach out to you. You're offering a free discovery call for an hour. Pretty amazing. So for anyone out there, what would you like to share with them before we go? If they need your help and advice, what would you suggest?
Contact me for that complimentary discovery call. That is where you will have a chance to tell me what is happening. It's all safe. It's confidential. Nothing is shared. And then I can let you know how I can help.
Perfect.
But this is all about them. And that's, I believe, the best way to move forward is to schedule that call.
Yeah. Perfect. And remind us a phone number if you'd like to share, and the website one more time before we go.
Sure. Phone number 216-339-9959. A phone call or a text is fine. And I'm going to give my email address for now because I know I'm in this transition. And it is Allison, Allison, Cowan, Cowan, at Purposeful Pathways lifecoaching.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. We're going to move on to our next show. We want to thank you for being here, for joining us, enlightening us, and looking forward again to the next time we speak. And don't forget, anything is possible, right? Is that your motto? Beautiful. Thank you for being here. Pleasure getting to know you, really. You have a great day, and looking forward to our next conversation. To all of our listeners, thank you as well. We appreciate you, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network. on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.